Hello everybody, welcome to the most intense moral choices in video game history. I saw the first comment, most intense moral choice, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, or Charmander. Kind of true, I guess. Unless you're playing Pokemon Yellow.
In this day and age, video games love to champion the concept of choices within their titles.
What was that? I know that game. Madame?
Picking your character's appearance, their playstyle, and ever-minute interactions with NPCs, there are some games that truly try to immerse you into their worlds, almost to the point that your avatar becomes a proper extension of your personality. Yet, as you might expect with this many options, there are going to be moments where it's not going to be as simple as deciding what pair of boots to wear, and is much more layered and complex.
Ooh, Star Wars Old Republic. I remember playing that at Josh's. I played that on PC. I wonder if my brother still has that game. I might ask him if he still has that. I kind of want to play that again.
Hell, it might even be dangerous, that could destroy relationships with characters or affect the outcome of the game itself. And it's these that we're going to focus on today, because the titles on this
Telltale game, wait.
Moments where it's not going to be as simple, might even be dangerous, that could we're going to focus on today, because the titles on this list
Walking Dead
don't just present options that were no-brainers. These were
moments. That was an intense one, though. Choose between Duck or Herschel's son. Either way, Herschel's son dies. But you either get Kenny on your side for when you need him, if you do the right choices. And when it comes to find Clementine, after you've gotten bitten of episode 5, well, if you don't back him up 100% or a good amount of the choices, then he doesn't come with you, and he gets locked in the shed when the old people go to take the boat.
That required careful thought or split decisions that truly called into question who you were as a person. So let's all carefully consider if you want to carry on watching this video, then realise it's Jules from RockCulture.com.
Oh, Until Dawn.
So the answer is duh, yes, this guy is the butter to my mind bread. Okay. And let's have a look at 8 of the most intense moral choices in video game history. Number 8, light side or dark side.
Wait, where's the other, huh? What? It says 10 and it's starting on 8. I didn't see. Feel free to let me know if I missed 10 and 9. I don't think I did.
Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. Just about every Star Wars game ever made has had the option.
But if you don't know, in spoilers, if you haven't played the game, you know it's been out for a good while. If you don't know, in Star Wars Old Republic, you're technically the big bad boss of the evil dude. You've just lost your memory, or something happened to your memory, I forget what-ish. But you kind of started fresh, and you can either become bad and join the dude again, become your true self of the Raven, Lord Raven, or you become good and become a good guy. But I think there is a chance the girl that one of the girls that you can have on your team, Jedi's, depending on their morals, if this bad, if you get her to go all the way evil, I think she can turn evil at the end and fight you. I don't know.
To let the player choose between the light or dark side, and in classic series fashion, each side of the Force comes with their own unique powers and morals. But honestly, in the older games, there was rarely ever an actual reason to side with the light side over the dark path, mostly because of the sweet Force abilities that the latter option often rewarded you with. I mean, after all, who wouldn't want the ability to use Force lightning to turn their enemies into a microwave meal? Well, that's where BioWare comes in, arguably the once kings of the Choice Kingdom and their game Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, that dude right there, that's you. when you were evil before the start of the game.
Public.
What you learn
Here,
as you go.
actual weight was put behind your decision on whether you wanted to be
And
a
that was
Sith
like your
or a
apprentice to
Jedi.
do with
Because
the
of its
math.
RPG structure, the title imbued this decision with a sense of gravitas and story importance, and as a result, it became one of the most defining parts of the whole title, as choosing to follow either path could cost you allies, party members, and completely changed the course of the story. For one of the first times, Knights of the Old Republic gave Star Wars fans a reason to choose the light side over the dark, and it was even entirely possible to deny both and play as a grey Force wielder, making for an even more nuanced experience. Truly, it felt like the galaxy reacted to your choices, and that sense of empowerment was unrivaled at the time. Number 7. Harvesting the Little Sisters. BioShock. Right, I have to state this clearly that in this list I am going to be talking about experiences and choices that in hindsight are somewhat clearer, and instead focus on what it was like at that very moment to be forced into making these decisions. For example, I know that refusing to harvest the Little Sisters in BioShock 1 yields the better option further down the line, as their rewards and gifts are better than the straight Adam injection that you get from bleeding the little rascals dry. However, in that moment, when the big daddies are knocking at the door, when the splicers are crawling over your head and turning you into ribbons with their fishhooks, can you deny that you weren't tempted by that rush of extra Adam that could have been used to beef up your bod? Of course you were, because that's how the game cleverly spun expectations. After all, they look just like little girls, but at the time, you're also told that they might just be slaves to the slug residing within them, that they've been conditioned and brainwashed and are possibly beyond rescue. Do you chase that extra hit, or do you make the game harder for yourself? Only you can answer that question, but it was a choice that affected the ending as well. In a neat narrative twist, ultimately your choices mimic the fall of Rapture itself. Will you damn your soul down the route of selfishness like the citizens of the underwater dystopia, or break the city's condemned curse through acts of selflessness? Number 6. Murder the Sasquatch. Red Dead Redemption. Honestly, this moment in the original Red Dead Redemption utterly broke me. After the fun of slinging guns and whiskies in equal measure and the permanent heat of the desert, I was ready for another round of the silliness with the Undead Nightmare DLC. What I got at the end was a horrible choice of whether or not to kill or spare a Sasquatch. Now, at first, it seems like a regular Red Dead mission. Hunt down the wild animal that's been murdering and stealing babies from nearby villages, return home to collect your reward, and that's it, job's a good 'un. That is, until you've whittled the game's population down to a single remaining Bigfoot. And unlike the other times that you've hunted animals in the game, this final monster actually speaks to you, and drops the bombshell that completely recontextualizes the entire mission. You see, the townsfolk who sent you out on this task, and even John Marston himself, completely misunderstood that the Sasquatch diet doesn't include babies, only berries. And the species never possessed a threat to anyone, and yet you've been riding around for the past few hours trying your best to aid in their extinction. And it's here the lone Sasquatch gives you a final decision: put him out of his misery, or let him live to roam the remainder of his days in solitary as the last of his kind. Whatever you choose, it in no way scrubs away the guilt that lingers after finishing this oddly poignant quest. Number 5. Decide Lee's fate. The Walk.
Oh God, that hit people hard. Even PewDiePie was crying.
Walking Dead. Telltale's The Walking Dead games are essentially entirely...
No, in some Telltale games, your choices don't really matter as much, because, like, no matter what you do, whether you save Doug or Carly at the one part, they end up dying later when they're on an RV after the whole stolen supplies thing, and Lily killed them. Whether it's whoever you, depending on which one you save. So it's like there's some choices in Telltale games where, like, no matter what you pick, something is just gonna, someone's gonna die regardless, or that's just gonna kind of revert or kind of go towards the path that no matter what you choose, this will happen later. Like one will die, or I don't know, something. I mean, in Minecraft story mode, like, let me think of a good one from that. One sec. I cannot think of one at the moment. It's been a while since I played that game. No, I'd have to probably replay it.
Based around the concept of forcing the player to make impossible decisions under immense amounts of space.
Oh, like this, for example. No matter who you save, Herschel's son always dies. So you can be on Herschel's good side, but even if you save Herschel's son, he still kicks you off the farm with the others, and you go with them to Mason. But if you save Kenny's son, Duck, he's grateful, and you've earned your share on the boat that ends up getting stolen when you get up to Savannah and all that stuff. But, like, yeah, it's just, no matter
stress.
what.
Everything from branching pathways that can decide the fate of beloved characters, or even small things such as the message Clementine will remember that popping up after seemingly innocuous exchanges will have you second-guessing every action you take. And that phrase, Clementine will remember that, is something that is shared with the player to the utmost degree when it comes to deciding the fate of Lee come the close of Season 1. Throughout this experience, we have seen Lee become a surrogate father to Clementine as he guides, protects, and educates.
I wouldn't want the dad figure, because, like, her parents are dead. She doesn't know that until she's in Savannah, and when they're trying to escape, and right before he gets locked up in this part, where they're locked in this part kind of thing, she finds out he's bitten, but she saw her parents. They saw him also. He saw it too. Zombies. No, they're dead. And he's like the only father figure she had to survive. Otherwise, she would have been up in that treehouse the whole time. And there was this kid that was locked himself in the attic. If that would have been, and he ended up starving to death, that would have been Clementine if Lee didn't come and take her away from there and help her survive, teach her how to use a gun and all that stuff. So, if you think about it, it's like, he was such a dad figure. You could even lie, kind of, and tell people that you're her father, or you could tell them the truth that you're just met, or you're babysitting, I guess, sort of a lie kind of thing. But even if you tell the truth, he is a big father figure to her.
Degree when it comes to deciding the fate of Lee come the close of Season 1. Throughout this experience, we have seen Lee become a surrogate father to Clementine as he guides, protects, and educates her in this new life of extreme survival. Yet, after a bite from a walker, this relationship is turned upside down, as now, with the player controlling Clem, we have to choose between shooting Lee before he turns or leaving him. It doesn't affect the title's end, but it does ask the player a tough choice. Is it better to kill somebody in pain rather than watch them turn, or preserve the...
Kenny gets it rough. Duck gets bitten. Not only that, his wife ends her life because she can't handle the loss of her boy. And so Kenny not only loses a child at this point, but his wife. Ben did cause the raid by giving the bandits the medicine and all that stuff, as you find out. So he's technically the fault of Duck getting bit from when that all went haywire. And that big fight broke free. But at the same time, it makes a valid point. At least he had a family to say goodbye to. Ben doesn't even know where his family is, if they survived, or if they're dead for all he knows. Which, that is probably a worse feeling, yes. But again, if you remember, there's a word for when you lose your husband. There's a word for when you lose your wife, but there is no word to describe when you lost a child. Or no one could feel, or know that feeling unless they had lost it. You can imagine. You could try to sympathy. Yeah, sympathy. and all that stuff, but it's just, God. Worst feeling.
One aspect of humanity that we
But
have
not
left,
knowing how your
the
parents
value
gone out,
of
or
life
like
itself.
if they're still
It's a
alive,
truly
that's
arduous
pretty bad
choice,
too.
and one that is an abuser to your tear ducts, as there will not be a dry eye in the house once this choice has been made. Number 4, who to kill in the darkest dungeon. If you've had the joy, or that should be sadomasochistic joy, of playing through Darkest Dungeon, you will know that death is everywhere. Like here, or there. I mean, look over there. What's that behind you? Bit of death? Oh, look. Oh, what's that behind the curtain? I see you, death, you bony little scamp. Get off my bloody carpet. You're getting bone dust all over it. Anyway, death is a constant threat in Darkest Dungeon, and with the added terror of permadeath for any of your party members, it means that even short and seemingly simple treks through dungeons can end in absolute disaster. So imagine, if you will, that you've gotten to the end of this game and are approaching the final boss. Somehow you've managed to keep your party together long enough for them to level up into an actual fighting force, and you're proud of how they've survived. You're amazed at what they've overcome, and then the final boss hits you with this quandary. A move that eliminates one of your party members flat out. No honor in death, no goodbye, just wiped from the record in an instant. It is utterly horrifying when you first encounter this moment, as all of your best laid plans are suddenly thrown out of the window, and you watch as your party gets sucked up more than your mum does when she's at these house orgies that she organises. She is an absolute hoover for the gravy, by the way, and also, that is my one per list. So who do you choose? It's unlikely that you've got just 2 goons in your party to throw under the bus, seeing as you've had to get this far, so it is going to be tough. And the worst part is that once you've done the first time, you're not aware that it's going to happen again, so having to cut from an even shallower pool is truly difficult. It's here that you find an answer within yourself as to the question of what you'll be prepared to do in order to get over the finish line. And the results, well, they're not going to be pretty. Number 3, throw a baby into a furnace.
Throw a baby into a furnace? Witcher 3 Wild... what?
The Witcher 3
Why would
Wild
that
Hunt.
even be a
Although
thing,
Witcher 3
or...
was a game bursting to the
What?
brim with moral choices and decisions that can impact the entire state of the world in huge ways, there wasn't a choice more intense or more harrowing than whether or not to throw a baby into a furnace. You see, the mission that you're on tasks you with
Is it like
saving
a
a character
cursed
who's
baby or
haunted by a
something?
creature that feeds off of the guilt of others who've caused some kind of vile crime in their past. One of the ways to get rid of this beast is to trick it into thinking someone else has caused a devious act that's even worse, so it will feed off of them instead. Now, Big G agrees to trick the beast, allowing his companion to come up with a plan. However, the important catch is that the Witcher himself is not allowed to know what that plan is in order for it to work. Cut to a few hours later when suddenly they come crashing through the door, baby in hand, commanding you to cast the child into the fire. With the boy's father and the city's guard chasing in hot pursuit, you're given just a few seconds to decide whether you trust your companion to throw the baby into the flames or give in and hand the child back to the afflicted father. In these harrowing moments, without anything to go on, what do you do? Well, that, my friends, is up to you. Number 2, restarting the whole game, Nier Automata. As I've mentioned many times on this channel, there is a lot to love about Nier Automata. The combat is stylish and weighty, the visuals are gorgeous, and I absolutely adore how many genres are stuffed into this one game. From start to finish, you'll find elements of RPGs, hack and slash, top-down shooter, on-rails gun game, and boss rushes, all bubbling together into a thick and hearty soup. And holding it all together is a sublime narrative that calls into question what it is to be human and about the concepts of how community can overcome struggle. And to that effect, it makes the ending choice of the game truly one worth agonising over. In one of the many endings to the game, the player will be thrown into a top-down bullet hell shooter where you're tasked with destroying the actual names of the game's creators as they spill down during what appears to be a credit sequence. As the action ramps up and up, it might seem impossible to overcome. That is until other players' avatars arrive to help you destroy this pesky text. As you complete this section, you're given a choice. Do you too want to offer your strength to others to help them reach the end? Well, if so, you're going to need to delete your entire game and start over. I mean, what do you do? Help others or act out of selfishness to potentially platinum the game in a quicker time? It's a toughie. And number 1, How do you end an entire game?
Mass
Effect 3.
I'm pretty sure that was in the
As much as
last
everyone
one we
claimed to
did.
dislike the outcome of
Mass
Mass
Effect
Effect
3,
3, there is no denying that upon the first
Yeah, I
playthrough, the
remember
final
that
gameplay
day,
decision was one of the
dude.
toughest choices that you've ever had to make in any title
The
ever.
top
Now
worst
remove yourself from what
hated
happens
games or
after
something
and just
like that.
remember what it was like to stand there in front of that dopey little light kid as they offer you one of 3 choices. It is easily one of the toughest decisions ever made. This is hundreds of hours of playtime, all boiling itself down to the end game, and it's a terrifying prospect to hold the weight of an entire galaxy in your hands. Do you follow the selfish pursuit and take power, or spread it in a benevolent fashion across the alien races? Well, this moment forced you to reflect over your entire experience with the whole franchise in order to come up with a decision that would ultimately conclude and finish off your own personal tale. This was your Shepard, and this was your decision to make. And there we go, those were 8 of the most intense moral choices in video game history. I hope that you enjoyed.
8 times video games developers publicly insulted you. 10 really stupid decisions in horror video game. If you guys would like to be interested in me doing those, or among other ones that I have planned, let me know and I'll add them to the list. But again, please comment below if I missed anything. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss a thing, and I started at 8, but if I did, please let me know. I guess we'll see. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Oh! I forgot to say something at the beginning of the video. I guess I'll just do that in the next one. Love y'all. Bye.